Hello guys, welcome back to Maths Zone African Motives. In this platform, we are going to consider working with our revisions, all right? So this was a June 2025 exam that we are going to consider the controlled test for our grade 9 mathematics from the KZN province, all right? Considering this, I'm not going to waste your time. This was out of 75 and a duration of 1.5 hours to be considered. All right, so we're given that the following instructions. All right, read the following instructions carefully before answering the questions. All right, where you are given one, the question paper consists of 10 pages, including the cover page. And this question paper consists of what? 8 questions that you are supposed to consider, and you're supposed to answer all the questions that you have. So I'm not going to waste your time, guys. Just make sure that you read each and every part of your instruction. And the issue of decimal places, you're not told, but you're supposed to leave your answers to 2 decimal places. All right. So that was it. And consider downloading the question paper. All right. If you check the comment section, you can download the question paper. So I'm not going to waste your time because you've got the PDF. You can check the questions properly. So here I'm just going to go through as per display of the board that I'm having here. So our section A, you are given question number 1. 4 options are provided as answers to the following questions. Circle the letter corresponding to correct answer from what we are given. It was actually 10 marks, so meaning to say I've got 10 marks from question number 1. 1.1, which of the following is not a property of rational numbers? So remember, if you are referring to rational numbers, those are the ones that can be written in the form of A over B, where A and B are what? Are integers, and B cannot be equal to 0 as a fraction like this. So 1, we are told that it is not a property. So meaning to say you will be given properties, but one of these is not a property, all right? A, terminating decimals, all right? A decimal that ends 0,125, that's terminating. It is a rational number. If you are to consider such, this can be given as 1 over 8. As we can see, it gives us the form of what? A over B. So this one, it is what? A property of rational numbers. So we need this as a property, all right? Recurring decimals. Recurring decimals are those such as 0,1, and you'll be given something like this, 0,11111, and so on. Those are also rational. They can be expressed in the form of A over B, all right? The cube root of a prime number, all right? The cube root of a prime number. Considering prime numbers, if we are to consider prime numbers in our case, all right, prime numbers exactly divisible by 1 is itself, 2, 3, 5, and so on. But we need what? The cube root, the cube root, the cube root of these numbers. Can they be simplified? Let us consider the cube root of what? The cube root of 2. We cannot have this as a what? As a fraction. If you change this, it is impossible, all right? The cube root of what? Of a 3. Also, this cannot be written in the form of A over B. So this one is not a property of what? Prime of rational numbers. So this is not a property, right? It is not a rational number. Whatever that you're going to obtain is an endless decimal, which cannot be expressed in the form of what? A over B. Then D, the square root of a perfect square. The square root of 4, 4 is a perfect square. It gives us a 2, which can be written in the form of A over B, because 2 is same as what? 2 over 1. The square root of 49 is 7, 7 over 1. They can be written in the form of what? A over B. So this one is a property of what? of rational numbers. So that is, in our case, the one which is not a property is what? Is C, the cube root of what? Of a prime number. All right, 1.2, you are given this. Minus 5 squared is equal to minus 25 because of what? All right, it is 5 only, which is being what? Squared. All right, and that is what you have on A. This is the correct answer. This is false. The correct answer is 25. No, this is wrong. Negative 5 squared is the one that gives us a positive 25 when both negative and 5 are being squared. All right, both negative and the number are squared. No, this is wrong. It is only a 5. None of above answers, all right, of the above answers, A is correct. It is only 5 which is squared. So the negative is not affected. It remains as it is. But 5 squared is what? 25. So that was the best answer, which is A. Then 1.3, simplify this, right? Simply divide 6 and 3. That is going to give us a 2. There we've got same bases. Subtract what? The exponents, all right? Subtract the powers. Remember, for same bases, you subtract the powers. So that's 10 to the exponent of 10 minus what? Minus 4, which is going to give us 10 to the exponent of 6. But we do not have that one to the exponent of 4, 5, 14. All right, what about this one? Because these are 6 zeros. 2 to the exponent of 6 is same as that 2 million that we are given. 6 zeros that you're going to consider. So the one that is equivalent to 2 times 10 to the exponent of 6 is what? 2 million, which is on D. So D was the best answer. All right, 1.4. The 20th term in the sequence is, all right, in this sequence, guys, it was going to be difficult for you to list up to the 20th term, guys. You list like 5, 9, and so up to 20th term. It was going to be easier. It was going to be difficult, actually, to do that. But the easier way is simply to determine the TN, the formula, the general formula, all right? And substitute any when it is what? 28. Substitute when you're considering T 28. N is equal to what? 28. So let us find the Tn first. All right. From this, we've got, let's consider the differences first and see 9 minus 5, that's a 4. 13 minus 9, that's a 4. This one, that's a 4. So we are dealing with a numeric where we've got what? A constant what? A constant difference. So when we've got a constant difference, our Tn is what? An plus what? Plus b. Our a being the difference, so that's 4n plus b. So to find b, you can work with the first term, which is 5. Our T1 is equal to 5. So simply, if T1 is equal to 5, from this Tn, 5 is equal to, remember, n is equal to 1 when you say Tn, n is equal to 1. So that's plus b. So 5 is equal to 4 plus b. Then take the 4 to the other side. That's going to be a negative 4. So you're going to subtract 4 here, or simply subtract 4 both sides. So that's a 1. So that's our Tn can be written as 4n plus what? Plus b. Our b is 1. 4n plus 1. This is our Tn, our general formula. We are not being asked about the general formula, but it was going to be easier to work with the general formula to determine T28, the 20th term. When n is 28, simply substitute in place of n, put what? 28. So that is the consideration of our question. So that's our T28, all right? 4 times 28, then we add 1. This is going to give us 113 from what we have on our calculator. That is what? 113. So the best answer where we've got 113 is on what? On B. All right. So that was what you have. All right. Any other way that you can use, still you must obtain the same answers from what you're given. All right. Let us consider this When simplified on 1.5, the product of this is what? When it is simplified, simply expand the second bracket by 2x. So that's 2x times this, 4x squared. That is going to give us 8. 2 times 4, that's 8x to the exponent of 3. You add 1 plus 2, that's what? A 3. 2 times negative 8, that's negative 16. X times x, you add 1 plus 1, that's x squared. All right. 2 times 12, that's what? 24. Then x in this case is just going to remain as x as it is. So that is what you're going to have. 8x cubed minus 16x squared plus 24x. And the best answer there was going to be A. All right. So that's where we have got our expression. All right. Then here simplify on 1.6. Let us simplify this. Simply separate each and every term by what? Negative 6x. So it was going to be 18x to the exponent of 3 over negative 6x plus 24x squared over negative 6x. Then we've got a negative 12x over what? Negative 6x. So this is it. Positive to a negative, that's a negative. 18 divided by 6, that's 3. In this case, we're dealing with the same base. Simply subtract the powers. 3 minus 1, that's a 2. All right. Positive to a negative, that's a negative. Then 24 divided by 6, that's going to be 4. Again, subtract the powers. 2 minus 1, that's 1. So it was going to be simply x to the exponent of 1, which is x. Here, the x and the x was going to cancel. Negative, negative gives us a positive. Then 12 divided by 6, that's a 2. So the best answer was going to be on what? On B, where we have got oh no, we need a plus 2 here, a plus 2. So the best answer was going to be D, all right, where there is a plus 2 at the end. All right, so that was it on 1.6. Then 1.7, still these are just 1 mark, 1 mark. All right, we are supposed to find the value of x, solve for x. So 8x, take the 3 to the other side, it was going to be minus 3. So 8x is equal to 32. 35 minus 3 is what? 32. Since we have a product, divide by what? Divide by 8. So x is equal to 32 divided by 8, which is what? Which is 4. So the best answer was going to be C. All right. Then on 1.8, we are given the value of A. Given that the value of B is 2, then evaluate or find the value of this equation. Simply substitute where you are given A with what? With negative 1. So A is negative 1 to the exponent of 3. Minus our B is what? Our B is 2, so that's 2 squared. Plus 12A squared. A is what? Negative 1 squared times B. Our B is 2. So that's it. Negative 1 to the exponent of 3. That's a negative. All right. Minus 2 squared. That's a 4. All right. Here we're going to obtain a positive. When negative is raised to an even, it is going to be a positive. So that's 12 times 2, which is what? Which is 24. You can easily use the calculator here or subtract 24 minus 4. That is what? That is 20 minus 1, that is 19. So you're going to remain with a 19. And the best answer was going to be A, where we got a 19. Okay. 1.9, the rule for the following diagram is, right, this diagram given below. So you can simply substitute into the rule, since there are just 4 of them. Simply substitute the input, which is x, and see if you're going to obtain the output, the y value. For an example, in this equation, let's just consider when x is what? Minus 2. The output must be what? Negative 23. So put a minus 2 here, a minus 2 here, a minus 2 here, a minus 2, and C. All right, so the first one, it is 8 into what? 8 into minus 2, all right, plus, sorry, 8 into, sorry for that. So that's 8 into minus 2, all right, minus 8 like this. That was going to give us negative 24, all right? So this gives us negative 24, not negative 23, all right? Let's move to the second one. 7 into minus 2, all right, plus what? Plus 8. This is going to give us minus 6, not minus 23. So this gives us negative 6 is totally out. All right, let's move on to C. That's 8 into minus what? Minus 2, the value of x, plus a 7. This is going to give us minus 9, not minus 23. So this is totally out. Then the last one, that's 8x. Our x is what? Minus 2, then we're going to subtract a 7. So here, minus a 7 like this, that's minus 23. So we are obtaining exactly minus 23 at D. So D is the best answer that you can have. So simply find the value of x that you can substitute even when x is equal to 0. Test with the values, all right? When x is equal to 0, y is supposed to be minus 7. Put a 0 there. Where are you going to get a negative 7? Again, on what? On D, all right? Or you can actually find that from the differences, all right? The difference between these numbers, minus 15, minus 23, that's going to be a positive. There is a difference of 8. It's going to be positive. So it's 23 minus 15, which is 8. Minus 7, minus this. On the output, there's a difference of 8 again. So it's a linear equation that you're going to have from the Tn is equal to An plus B, but you're writing as y is equal to Ax. Y is equal to Mx, plus C, where M is that difference of 8. So it's 8x plus C. So to obtain the value of C, you can substitute any corresponding part. When x is minus 3, y is what? Minus 23. So y is minus 23. When x is what? When x is minus 2 on the input. So that's it. You can find the value of C. Minus 23 is equal to minus 16 plus C. So to obtain the value of C, add 16 both sides of your equation. So C was going to give us a negative 7 minus 23 plus what? Minus 23 plus 16, that's a negative 7. So that's from this equation, y is equal to 8x, all right, minus 7 plus what? Plus C. Our C is negative 7. So exactly the one that we obtained. So this is another way that you can actually use to determine it using the general rule. As you are considering that, you're still going to obtain the same answers. All right, factorize on 1.10. All right, in this case, from what we have, we can see that the brackets this time are exactly the same. It is different from a question that we had previously, which was like this: x squared into x minus 3 minus 4 into 3 minus x. When the two brackets here are different, all right, but you can see that if you factor out a negative, the second bracket will be the same as the first one. That's where you have to factor out the negative so that it will be the same as the first one. But in our case, they're exactly the same. So there is no need for us to even apply this concept of what? Factoring out a negative. Simply factor out the common bracket, which is the same, which is x minus 3. All right. If you factor out this bracket of x minus 3 here, you're going to remain with what? With x squared. Here, you're going to remain with what? Minus 4. That's another bracket, which actually represents a difference of two squares. X squared, a perfect square. 4 is a perfect square. So we know that we're going to have the square root of x squared, which is x, square root of 4, which is 2. So one is going to add, another one is going to subtract from the concept of our difference of two squares, all right? So that is it. 4 is same as what? As 2 squared. So one is going to be x plus 2, another one x minus 2. So this is it. So which one is going to be the best answer when you factorized completely? That's here, D is the best answer. X minus 3, x minus 2 here, and x plus 2, we've got also x plus 2 there. So that was going to be the best answer from what we are given. All right, let us consider our section B, where we have got question number 2. We are given on 2.1, Tom borrowed 18,000 rand in this case, from what? From Standard Bank for 36 months at 27% per annum compound interest. It's compound interest. But in this case, we are being told without using a formula, without the formula amount is equal to P into 1 plus R over 100 to the exponent of n. Without this formula, calculate how much Tom owes the bank at the end of 36 months. So we have got the principal, which is the money being borrowed of what? 18,000 rand. So that's 18,000. And this is for 36 months. How many years? 36 divided by what? By 12. That's 3 years. So meaning to say the number of years is 3. So it's going to accumulate for 3 years. At this percent, at an interest rate of what? 27%. All right. Which is actually going to give us what is affecting per year for compound interest, all right? So you take this part here under the formula. You're asked not to use the formula, but you use the idea of the formula. This is the part that you're going to use, this one. 1 plus R over 100, all right? So you take that part, 1 plus our R is 27 over 100. So it's going to be 1 plus 0.27, which is actually 1.27. This is the rate of how the money is going to increase yearly. So meaning to say for the first year, we are going to consider what Tom borrowed. He borrowed what? 18,000 rand times the way that the money is increasing yearly. It's increasing by what? 1.27. So that's what's going to give us. All right, just use your calculator in this case. 18,000 times 1.27. This is going to give us 22,860. All right, so you move on with the same. Take this amount at the end of the year. Then you consider the second year. So he is continuing with this amount of what? 22,860 times how it is increasing yearly by 1.287. So we're going to multiply by that one times 1.27. That was going to give us this as a decimal. That's 29,032,2. You're going to put another 0. We're going to put a 0 there. So we've got what? 2 decimal places. So this is for the what? For the second year. Remember, for how many years? For 3 years. So for the third year, which is the final year, is going to be owing how much? This amount of, all right, you start with this one. That's 29,032,20 times. Same way it is increasing by 1.27. So this is the same throughout. You multiply by that for a compound interest. So multiply by 1.27. That is it, to 2 decimal places. That was going to be 36,870. All right, comma 89. That's comma 89 to what? 2 decimal places. So this is what is owing the bank. That's Tom owes the bank this amount after 36 months, after 3 years. All right. So you consider yearly when you are not allowed to use the formula. All right. So you can verify with the formula from what we just had. Let us verify with our formula if it is the correct answer that we have. Remember, our principal is what? 18,000, all right, into 1 plus our R is 27 over 100 to the exponent of n, the number of years, 3. So let's use our calculator to calculate this at once. But remember, this is just for a proof to see if your answer is what is correct. This is just a proof to see if our answer is what is correct. So we can see that it is exactly the same answer that we obtained here, which is going to be 36,870,89 to 2 decimal places. So the exact answer that we obtained before by not using the formula. All right, so this one is just a proof if you are using what? A formula to see if your answers are actually correct. Then on 2.2, we are given that Gugu walks 5 kilometers actually. All right, you see this thing of trying to pronounce this. All right, so this one is maybe Gugulet or something, but we are given Gugu walks what? 5 kilometers in 35 minutes. How far does he walk in 21 minutes? Is this for a he or for a she? But anyways, this is what we're given. It's a he. So we are given the distance 5 kilometers. How far does he walk in 21 minutes? So in terms of the distance here, this is the time. In 5 kilometers, he is actually going to take 35 what? 35 minutes. So what about in 21 minutes? 21 minutes here, how many kilometers? So it follows that for the distance covered, the more distance, the more time. Thus, the lesser time means also the lesser distance. So this one, it's a direct proportion. It's as the value increases in terms of the distance that you cover more time, all right? More distance, more time. So that's a direct proportion. So you're simply working with something that is what? That is direct. So let's say this is X. All right, let's say this is X. Remember direct proportion, you do this idea of what? Cross multiplication like this. So meaning to say it was going to be X times what? 35. 35X is equal to, all right, so 35X is equal to the product of these two, 5 times 21. So that's 35X is equal to 5 times 21. That was going to give us 105. All right, you can just use a calculator. 5 times 21, that's 105. So divide by 35 since we have a product. That was going to give us the value of X. So 105 divided by what? By 35, that is 3. So X is equal to 3, meaning to say how far? 3 kilometers. So it's going to cover what? 3 kilometers in 21 minutes. So that's direct proportion in this case, all right? Same idea as question 2.22. How many minutes does it take Google to walk 1 kilometer? So it's the same. If our distance was 5, it was corresponding to 35 minutes. So what about for 1 kilometer in this case in our distance? What about for 1 kilometer? It corresponds to how many minutes? It's going to be less. So that's the bigger value, more, the lesser, less like that. So you can see that it is also direct. So you can use the direct proportion concept. 5 times X, that's 5X. 1 times 35, that's 35. So divide by 5, X is equal to what? X is equal to 7. So how many minutes? We're talking about what? 7 minutes being covered in this case for a 1 kilometer. Or you can even use anyway, guys, that you understand, right? If you say 5 is equal to 35, what about 1? It is equal to what? If it is less, you know that you're going to take the lesser value over the bigger value. 1 over 5 times what? Times 35, which is going to give us 7 minutes. The same thing that we had here. Whatever that you have is going to be less. So it's 21 over what? The lesser value over the bigger value times what you have to calculate 5. You're still going to obtain 3 kilometers just like before. So there are so many ways, guys, of calculating these. You just use the idea or the knowledge that you understand, but at the end, you're going to have same answers, all right? Number 3, which is our question number 3, calculate the following without using a calculator. 3.1, subtract negative 21 from this, from minus 27. From minus 27, we are supposed to what? Subtract. What are we supposed to subtract? We are supposed to subtract negative 21. So this is what you're going to have. Negative, negative, that's a positive. So that's minus 27 plus 21, which is simply going to give us what? A negative 6 at the end. 21 minus what? Minus 7. Subtract the bigger number, I mean the smaller number from the bigger number. Then you use the sign of the bigger number on your answer. Or you can even use a calculator. When they say do not use a calculator, guys, they mean at this stage when you're given just write your answer, they know. To subtract this, you can use a calculator, guys. No one is going to know that you used a calculator there. All right. So 3.2, let us try to evaluate, also applying our board mass. Some they use bomb dust, bomb. Right. Let's use the board mass. But in this case, we can even just evaluate negative, negative. Then 1000 divided by 8 is going to give us 125. Right, you can start, guys, like I said, you can even use a calculator there. That's 125 times, right? So here we have got a division. So let's consider dividing these two, negative 4 over negative 2. That was going to give us what? A 2. So it's positive, actually. So 125 times 2, which is going to give us what? 250. You can use a calculator to multiply these, but do not use a calculator to evaluate these at once, all right? But you can use a calculator for these stage calculations. It's not a problem. Any stage calculation, calculators can be used, all right? Again, here there is a bracket. Consider this bracket. So what is inside? It's negative 24 divided by 4 inside, negative 24 over 4, which is going to give us negative what? Negative 6. So it simply means we had got negative 12 minus minus, that's a plus, so that's plus 6, all right, times, remember this bracket is the one that we are working on, so we divided and obtained what? A negative 6 like this, all right? So let's go to the product. After the division, it's what? Multiplication, multiply plus 6 and a negative 6. So if you multiply a positive to a negative, it's going to give us a negative, all right? 6 times 6, that's 36. So minus 12 minus 6 is going to be more negative. So simply add, this is going to be 848. So that's negative what? 48. Or you can also use a calculator at that stage. It's not a problem at all. All right, at that stage, it's not a problem. So that's negative 48. All right, the same here. What is the cube root? What is the cube root of minus 343? Right, like I said, guys, the stage calculations are not a problem to use a calculator. You can just do this, the cube root of negative 343, which is what? Negative 7. If you do not know it by what? By head. But if you know it by head, then it's not a problem. Simplify. Add 576 to 100. That's 676 plus what? Plus 2. Everything over 3 squared, that is 9. Inside the bracket, we've got 5 times 2, which is what? Which is 10. All right, let's move on. The square root of 676 is what? The square root of 676 is equivalent to 26. So that's negative 7 times 26 plus a 2 over what? 9 times 10, that is 90. So in the numerator, if we are to use our board mass, meaning to say we're going to have division, multiplication, we're going to consider with the multiplication of these two, negative 7 and what? And 26, multiplying these two. So negative 7 times what? Times 26 is going to give us negative 128. So that's negative 182, negative 182, sorry, plus what? Plus 2. All right, everything over negative, over positive 90. So that's it. You can simplify negative 182 plus 2. This one plus a 2 is negative 180. over what? Over 90. And dividing this, it was going to give us what? A -2 at the end. All right. So stagely, our part calculations can be done using a calculator. What is not required is for you to simplify everything here at once using a calculator. All right. So that was the first, that was our last part, actually, question 3.4 to make it 10 marks on question number 3. Then let's move on to question, number what? Question number 4. Simplify the following expressions and leave your answer with a positive exponent. So applying the laws of exponents, same base under a multiplication, you are going to simply what? You're going to simply add the exponents. Under a division, you are going to subtract your exponents. So that was the consideration. Let us consider the base of what? The base of 4. 4, there is 4, there is 4, there is 4. So meaning to say, in the numerator, I'm going to have 4 to the exponent of 3 plus 5. Remember, I'm adding for a multiplication. I'm going to add. Then subtract these ones in the denominator, but they are being what? Multiplied together. So you add 4 and what? 4 and 7 together, because it's a multiplication. But this subtraction is to show that we are subtracting those ones in the what? In the denominator. All right. Then we've got 3 to the exponent of 2. All right. Moving on to the base of what? To the base of 3. To the exponent of 2, to the exponent of 4, and this one to the exponent of 5. So in the numerator, we're going to add 2 and what? 2 and 4. Then in the denominator, there is 3 to the exponent of 5. So you subtract that 5. So that was it. 4 to the exponent of 3 plus, if you add 3 plus 5, that's 8 minus 4 plus 7, that is 11. All right, times 3 to the exponent of, this is 6. All right, 6 minus 5, which is 1. So it was going to be simply, all right, there is going to be a negative here on 8 and 11. 8 minus 11, that's a -3, right? Meaning to say x to the exponent of -n is 1 over x to the exponent of n. So this is 1 over 4 to the exponent of 3 times 1 times 3, which is simply 1 over 4 to the exponent of 3, which is 64 times what? Times 3. So that was going to be 3 over 64. Remember, 3 is same as what? 3 over 1. So you multiply the numerators together, the denominators together. So this is it at the end. All right, it's just going to give us a fraction. 3 over what? 64. All right, let's consider another section or another part, 4.2. Again, leaving our answers as positive exponents. We can see that here we've got that idea again, same base. We're just going to subtract our exponents as per division. So this is 1, 1, 1. 4 minus 1, that's going to be what? 3. 2 minus 1, that's a 1. So that's y there. 4 minus 1, that's a 3. So that's z to the exponent of 3 times. In this case, it's an addition. So you consider that you are working with what? Like terms, x, y, z, x, y, z. Those are like terms. And this is what? An addition. So add 2 plus 3. That's 5xyz over what? xyz. All right. So this is where we are. So that's x cubed yz cubed like this times. Here we are going to simply cancel x and x, y and y, z and z. So we remain with 5 times 1, which is 5. So that's it. Simply multiply. This is 1 times 5. We multiply the coefficients. So that's 5x cubed yz cubed like this, right? So easy like that. You know that you're going to obtain the full marks from there. All right, so that was it. 4.3. We need to solve for x in this case. All right, these are exponents. So take 9 to the other side. 2 to the exponent of 4x is what? Subtract 9 here. 25 minus 9, that's a 16. Can 2 be written in the base? 16, can it be written in the base of 2? Yes, 16 can be written in the base of 2. That's 2 to the exponent of what? 4. 2 to the exponent of 4x is 2 to the exponent of 4. Considering that the bases are the same, we know what to do. We are going to equate the exponents, in this case, 4x and what? And 4. So therefore, 4x is equal to 4 divided by 4 divided by 4. So x is going to give us what? A 1. So this is the value of x from what we are given from that equation, right? So you see, guys, it's just a matter of playing around with the questions that we are given. On question number 5, or you are given 5.1, study the diagram. You must study and see what is exactly happening there, all right? So if we are to study this diagram, we can see that, right? Then complete the table 5 in figure for what? For figure 4, 5, and 6. This is figure 1, 2, 3. So guys, it's just a continuation here. Figure 1, you're given the number of matchsticks there are 4, here there are 10, here there are 16. Consider what is the difference between this, or is there a common ratio? So let's start with what? With the difference. All right. 10 minus 4, that's a difference of 6. 16 minus 10, a difference of what? Of 6 again. So we can see, guys, there's a difference of 6 on the output, on the number of matchsticks. So meaning to say the following here, simply add 6. 16 plus 6, that is going to give us what? 22. 22 plus what? Plus 6, that is going to give us 28. 28 plus what? Plus 6, that is going to give us the next one, which is what? 34. So this is the corresponding one from what we have. So we have completed our table. Remember, they said we must copy the table. So we copied this and complete. All right. So that was it for that one. Consider this pattern on 5.2. Write down the next 3 terms. It is the same as what we just had here. Is there a common difference? Is there a common ratio? Something like that. All right. So if you check the ratio was not, the difference was not gonna work as 7, and yet was not gonna give us a 7. 27 minus 8, guys, you can see that we are obtaining something 19. So the common difference, remove it. The ratio 8 over this over this, also it's not gonna work. So what's happening here? This is the first term, the second term, the third term. We can see that it is 1 to the exponent of 3, 2 to the exponent of 3, 3 to the exponent of 3. These numbers are simply raised to the exponent of 3. So the following one, for these terms, it was simply going to be, if it is the fourth term, our T4, 4 to the exponent of 3. All right? So that was the idea there. So 4 to the exponent of 3, that was going to give us what? 64. The following one, 5 to the exponent of 3, which is 125, followed by 6 to the exponent of 3, which is 216. So this is how the pattern was being formed. We are simply taking what is on that term, raise it to the exponent of what? Of 3. So the next 3 terms will be 64, 125, 216. All right, study this pattern, and from that pattern, 5.31, what is the constant ratio? Already you're told that there is a ratio. So the constant ratio, second term over what? The first term. This is T1, this is T2. So what is our second term? 6 over the first term, which is 2. So that's a 3. All right, so our R is what? Is 3. Then state in words describing how the pattern was formed from the first term. How was it formed from the first term? Since there is a ratio of 3, you multiply 3 to the previous term to obtain the next term, all right? So simply here, in words, we are simply going to say multiply, all right, the previous term by what? Multiply the previous term, all right, by 3. That is to get what? To get the next term. All right, that was the concept. If there is a ratio, it means you're multiplying the previous one to get the next one, right? So to get what? To get the next term, to get the next term. So that was the consideration, all right? Where there is a constant difference, you must add the difference to obtain the next term you add. But for a ratio, multiply, all right? 2 times 3, all right? That's a 6. 6 times 3, 18. 18 times 3, 15. 54 times 3, like that, you obtain what? The next terms. So write down the fifth term of the pattern. All right. How many terms do we have here? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fifth one, guys, is T5. So it is simply 54, the previous term times what? Times 3. The fourth term times 3. So T5 is simply 54 times 3. The previous term, which is our T4, previous term multiplied by what? By 3. So that's it. Our previous term is T4. So 54 times what? Times 3 is 162. So that's it. The previous term, which is T4, represented by what? By 54, we have it. Then times what? Times 3. You are going to obtain the next term, which is actually the what? The fifth term. So that was the idea for that one. You are done. Moving on to question number 6. Determine the value of this. All right. If A is -2, B +2, and C is 3. Simply substitute into the given expression. So that's 2 times A. Our A is what? -2. B squared. Our B is what? 2. Then you square it. Minus 3 times A. All right, let's just open the bigger bracket like this one. So it's going to be -3 times B. Our B is 2. And C is what? C is 3 plus C cubed plus C 3 to the exponent of 3. All right, let's try to simplify stage by stage. 2 squared, that's a 4. 2 times -2, that's -4. So -4 times 4 is going to give us -16 at the end. All right, -4 times 4 is going to give us a -16. All right, minus, then you consider this, what is inside this bracket. So that was going to give us -3 times 2, which is -6 times 3. That's -18 plus 3 to the exponent of 3, which is what? 27. If you multiply 3 times 3 times 3 like this, 3 times 3, that's 9 times 3, 27. Then what is inside the bracket? If you follow your BODMAS, we are still with the brackets, all right? Before any other concept, the what? The brackets. So what is inside the bracket here? It is simply 27 minus 18, all right? So that's 27 minus 18. What are we going to obtain if we subtract 27 minus 18? That was going to give us what? A 9. So remember there was a negative, so it would be -9. Minus 16 minus 9 is what? -25. Minus and a minus. Add the numbers. 16 plus what? Plus 9, you get a 25. But put the sign on your answer, the common sign, which is the negative on your answer. That is the concept, or just use a calculator. At this stage, it is not even a problem at all to use a calculator. All right? Simplify on 6.2 the square root of, remember for a square root, there's a 2 here. All right, what is the square root of 676? We actually dealt with this one before. It was what? 676. It is 26. So that's 26. The square root of a squared, remember the 2 and the 2 cancels. So that's a. The square root of a of b squared, the 2 and the 2 cancels. So that's a b. Minus the cube root of 100. 10 times 10 times 10, the number that multiplies itself what? 3 times to give us a 1000. That's what? A 10. So the cube root is 10. The cube root and this 3 cancels. That's a. The cube root and this 3 on b cancels. That's what? A b. So we are back to like terms. A, b, and a, b. These are like terms, AB, AB. So simply subtract 26 minus 10, which is what? 16AB. So this is what you are going to have at the end, as we can see, right? So it's gonna be simply like that, 16AB. Factorize, all right? What is that? We have two terms. So simply factor out the highest common factor, 7. 7 and 7, that's going to be a squared, minus 28 divided by 7, that's a negative 4. But this is not complete because a squared minus 4 is a perfect square, where 4 can be written as what? As 2 squared. So we have got what? A difference of 2 squares. All right, a difference of 2 squares, which is going to give us a plus b into a minus b. So that's what's going to be 7 into the square root of a squared is a. Square root of 4, that's a 2. So one adds, another one what? Subtracts. So that's our final answer at the end. Factorized completely like that for 4 marks. All right, easy as it is. All right, let us consider this one. Simplify on 6.4. What is that we're going to do here? Simply factor out, as we can see, there are two terms in the numerator. So factor out the highest common factor between 8 and 16. That's 8x. All right, so 8x squared divide by 8x is going to give us what? X. Going to remain with 1x. 16x divided by 8x, that's going to give us what? A positive 2. Everything over 16 times 8 over what? X plus 2. Remember the concept, you can cancel if you have got same terms, same brackets or numbers between the numerator and the denominator. So x plus 2 and x plus 2 can cancel. 8 into 8, that is 1, into 16, that's a 2. If you divide 16, divide by 8, that's what? A 2. All right, then 8 divide by 2, that's what? That's a 4. So you're going to remain with 4 times x, which is 4x over 1. This over 1, whatever that you have there, is simply going to be what? It is going to be 4x at the end. For 4 marks, all right? Just factorization, then simplification. We are done. All right, question number 7. Solve the following equations on 7.1. All right, there is a bracket there, so we just need to expand our bracket and collect the like terms. All right, we are done. So that is it. 4x, then 6 multiplies, distribute by 6. 6 times x, that's 6x. 6 times negative 2, that's a negative 12. And that's equal to 8. Then collect the like terms. Remember the issue of what? The like terms. Collect like terms. Actually, you have to simplify them. In this case, we have got this part of x. These are like terms. So combine them together, 6 and 4. That's what? 10x. Minus 12 is equal to 8. Take the constant, negative 12, to the other side, or simply add 12 both sides of your equation. So that's 10x. This cancels. All right, this is going to cancel. You remain with 8 plus 12, which is what? 8 plus 12, that's a 20. So to find the value of x, simply divide by what? Simply divide by 10. So x was going to give us what? A 2 at the end, right? So that is the value of x from our equation. All right, these are now equations. All right, let's consider 7.2, another equation to solve, where we can see that before it's a quadratic equation, the highest power is 2, where we can consider the highest common factor, which is 3. So divide by 3, by 3, by 3, by 3, each and every term. That was going to give us x squared. Minus 45 divided by 3, that's negative what? 15x. All right, plus 168 divided by 3 was going to give us 56, and that's equal to 0. So simply use your calculator, guys. All right, so considering this, you can actually factorize our quadratic expression if you consider that you're going to have what? 2 brackets equal to 0. and this is 1. So we're going to have x and x here. So remember, guys, from your factorization, you work with what? The constant term, which is 56. What are the products of what? 56, or factors of 56, which adds up to negative 15. So it's a trial and error. Try those factors of 56. There are so many, 7 and what? 7 and 8. But to get a negative 15, we must have negative, negative, all right? Multiply these two numbers, you get a positive 56. Add these two numbers, you get a negative 15. But like I said, there are so many factors. So you try from those and see which one. But the best are actually the ones that will give us a negative 15 is what? Negative 7 and negative 8 only. So the trial and error is just to give us, all right, 8 and 7. It gives us 56. But if I add 8 plus 7, it gives us what? 15. Not negative 15. So you must be very careful. So each bracket here, it is equal to 0. So meaning to say x minus 7 is equal to 0, or x minus 8 is equal to 0. So therefore, x was going to be positive 7 at the end, or x was going to be to the other side, was going to be a positive 8. Or simply add 7 both sides. Here add 8 what? Both sides of your equation. So those are the two values of x that we're going to have from the given quadratic equation. All right, 7.3, we are given two brackets, just like what we had here. When you have got two brackets equal to 0, how do you solve? You simply take each bracket, equate it to what? Equate it to 0. So it simply means 3x minus 4 is equal to 0, or the bracket of what? X minus 2 is equal to 0. So let us solve for x. Minus 4 to the other side was simply going to be a positive 4. So 3x is equal to 4. Divide by 3, divide by 3, we have got the value of x, which is what? 4 over 3. Or x is equal to what? Negative 2 to the other side was going to be a positive 2. So that's 0 plus 2, which is what? Which is 2. So that is what you're going to have from this. All right, the values of x, again, two values of x, since it is what? Since we've got two brackets in this case, it is just like what we had on that quadratic equation. So you see, guys, how do they play around with these typical questions? Just try to do as much revision as you can. All right, considering another part you're given here to study for number 8, study the flow diagram below and answer the questions that follow. All right. 8.1, determine the values of A and B. All right. A, remember this is your input and this is your output, and this is the rule that you're given. So A is on the what? On the input. If you substitute in place of x, a third x plus 3 is equal to the what? Output. What is the output there? It is what? Corresponding to 6. So the output is 6. You solve for x, where x is the input representing A. So that's it. Let us solve for x. Take the 3 to the other side. As you can see, it's a linear equation. So 3 to the other side was going to be a minus 3. So that's a third x is equal to 6 minus 3, which is 3. Or simply subtract what? 3 both sides. Then cross multiply, or simply multiply here. 1 times 1x, that's x. 3 times 3, that's what? That's a 9. You multiply 3 by 3. So x is equal to 9, representing the input value, which is what? Which is our A. Just like that, all right? Then B was actually the output. If you consider where B is, it is the output when the input is what? When the input is 15. So simply meaning to say, when you substitute in place of x on our input, we substitute that our input is what? 15 plus what? Plus 3. We must get the output, which is the y value. But in our case, we can just say it is what? B. That is our output. So that's it. 1 over 3 times 15 is 5. Then 5 plus 3 is 8. So B equals what? Equals to 8. So that was it. Then draw your Cartesian plane in the graph below to represent the input and output values from the flow diagram above. So we need to represent input and output values. So if we check our input values, it's minus 3, 3, 9, 15. How can you separate those input? Minus 3. All right, let us just try to have our graph this way. All right, as we have got in between, I'm just going to take it in between. All right, so this one, I'm just going to take it in between, half like that. Then the y values, they're just positive of them. We do not have negative on the output, so we can even just consider it from here. All right, so let's say these are the x values and these are the y values. So we're gonna consider from the origin. 1, 2, 3 is fine. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, and so on. Then minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, and so on. But here, guys, to get these values, so the x values, guys, it's from minus 3 to 15. It's gonna be actually something else. So it's very, very difficult for us to use this. Let us use another scale which is possible. We can even use minus 3, then 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and so on. All right. The same for the y values, they are actually multiples of 2. So you can actually work with what? Multiples of 2 and so on, all right? Since they are multiples of 2, you can just use 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on, all right? So that's it. You can mark these points that you're given. Correspondingly, you are going to have what? A linear or a straight line. When x is minus 3, y is the output at what? At 2. So you mark the point minus 3 for x and y is minus 2. Where these two meet, you mark a point. That is what it means. All right. You move on. The following one, 3 corresponds to what? To 4. When x is 3, y is what? Y is 4. When x is 3, y is what? Is 4. Where they meet, you mark a point. So that is the condition. You mark a point 3 and a 4. They meet here. You mark a point and so on and so on. So remember the value of A, we got 9, which corresponds with what? With 6. So that's 9 versus 6. 9 here versus 6. Where they meet, you mark a point. So that was it. And the last one is for 15, and the output was what? 8. So 15 for x, y is 8. 15 versus what? Versus 8. Where they meet, you mark a point. So they're going to meet somewhere here. So these points, they do form what? A straight line. So by joining these points, you are forming what? You are forming the straight line, or drawing the straight line, or representing the relationship which was given from what? From this flow diagram that you're given of what? Y is equal to a third x plus what? Plus 3. So that's our rule that we are going to write here. Y is equal to 1 over 3x plus what? Plus 3. A third of x plus what? Plus 3. So you've represented this on a Cartesian plane from what we're given before. So that is how these questions can actually be given as, all right? And this was actually the last part of our question, which is question number 8. All right, so guys, let us revise as many question papers as we can, and let there be light in our revisions as we are revising. Let there be light. All right, so we meet again. We are going to consider other provinces as well. So if there's a certain province that I want me to work on, just comment on the comment section so that we consider that question paper. If I just have that one. If I can just obtain or have a copy of that question paper, I'm going to consider it. So that is important, very, very important for your revisions. But for now, guys, that is it till we meet again.